Okay, so winding back, let's head up the first floor, shall we? I've already seen enough of this floor during the open house. Of course, I know that this is just a convenient excuse. I just don't want to be in the same room as Whiskey anytime soon. So I might as well just go upstairs first. The banisters on the grand staircase's landing are solid and at their proper height. Any lower and they would be trouble. There's a small catch on the carpet though, but as long as nobody tries to run down the stairs until it gets fixed, things should be alright. Did anyone happen to fall down a staircase by any chance? And the stained glass? Art. Restored no doubt in the image of the last lady and Lord of Ermengarde. Or it was supposed to be until Lady Charlotte's fiancé was brutally murdered. By a witch of all things, from what I've read. You'd think the historians of this place will be a lot more scrutinizing filtering out stuff like this. I'm amazed they bothered with it instead of replacing it with some generic cookie-cutter design. This entire piece alone would have cost roughly 500, even £1 million. Lady Charlotte Ermengarde and her beloved. Looking at the mosaic, it's not too far a stretch of the imagination to believe that the depicted images could be Mr. and Mrs. Wright. It can be easily assumed as such, if one doesn't know the history of the mansion. Really, a place like this should be protected by the government as a landmark. But what can I do about it? Walking into the east wing, I try to go into the theater, but is met with an obstacle. An obstacle that has locked doors. 2 doors. 2, and both of them are locked. I'd be frustrated. Would be, if I hadn't already snuck off while the Wrights were having their little business meeting with Miss Cooper before to take a peek. With what Mr. Wright wanted, we'd have to install a powerful projector, the type they use in cinemas, and a projection screen. The seats would have to be reupholstered if they're to be any comfortable, and the walls will have to be covered in dark material, paint, wallpaper, or install wall-to-wall carpeting. Really, all the rooms I could be jealous of, it's this one. I can just picture myself in there watching old kung fu flicks on a weekend-long marathon. Makes me wonder what kind of movies Mrs. Wright would like. Rom-coms, perhaps? Her husband, on the other hand, I'd rather not think about it. In the middle of my notation and planning, I don't even realize that I'm not alone until I'm caught standing in front of a locked door like a fool.
Were you meaning to go in there? I'm afraid we won't be able to open it up today.
Oh well, I wanted to, but it's fine. I can still survey the rest of the place.
Apologies, but the key was missing when they were handed over. They told us that they'd get right back to us with it.
What? But aren't they supposed to hand over all the keys once property changes hands? That can be grounds to file a complaint.
They were already kind enough to let us move in so early. There's no need to raise a fuss about it. Worst comes to worst, we can call for a locksmith.
The air is heavy and somber when she grows quiet and glances out the window. Out towards the vast expanse that surrounded what would be their house. Their home. Then she looks back at me with a sigh and a bitter smile.
Flowers. Yellow flowers. Daffodils, dandelions, and sunflowers and the sort all up front. Just a whole garden of them. They'll make the house look lovely, won't they?
Of course. A garden is a wonderful addition to any home.
As I say this, her eyes roam over me, scrutinizing and thoughtful. I have to hold back the shiver that threatens to run down my spine at being inspected so closely.
Yes. It must be nice.
We're still talking about the gardens, yes?
I mean not having to worry about what another person thinks of you.
What do you mean by that?
She lifts her hand and points to her wedding ring before it falls listlessly to her side.
Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I didn't marry Luke. There'll be no fights about walk-in closets or silly helipads. I could do with this place as my heart desires until there's nothing but content. Then again, I wouldn't have bought this place if it wasn't a gift for him. I probably wouldn't even be in Luxbourne if it wasn't for him. Maybe I would have moved to London, Manchester, or Birmingham. I might have even left the country altogether. France, Germany, Spain, Canada, Sweden, even America. The possibilities would have been endless.
I don't know what to say to that. What is there to say?
I'm sorry, I must sound so petty and ungrateful. I do love him. So very much, even if he can be a bit difficult at times.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just confused why you're telling me this, of all people.
Just a whim, I think. Just flights of fancy, that's all. Don't you ever think about one decision you've made in your life and wonder how much would change if you chose to do things differently?
I try not to dwell on the past, ma'am.
The keyword is try, of course. Thinking of the past brings up too many ghosts. Memories of her. And I do wonder what would change if I just said yes when she asked for me. Maybe she'd still be with me. I return to the present, just like I said. I try not to dwell on the past. Why don't you decide on your own? Her worries seem simple enough. I mean, it doesn't have to be as difficult as she makes it out to be, right?
Why don't you decide on your own?
I meant nothing against Mr. Wright, of course, though whiskey buggered me to no end. By law, she would be the owner of the house. Well, unless they signed a joint property ownership anyway, which is a rare thing as far as I know, especially for these highbrow types. Sure, they could actually love their spouse, I don't doubt the possibility. But money is money, and it makes people do the most horrible things sometimes.
It's your house. You can paint the whole place pink if you want, and there's not much he can do.
The somber expression she had changes to a look of contempt.
I could, but we are husband and wife. Equal partners in marriage, Marianne, though I can't see that you don't understand. This is his home as much as it is mine. I'm not going to go behind his back over a room. And how dare you suggest that?
How do I even talk her down without causing further offense? It's my attempt to shake off my own drama that I end up tripping right into theirs. Because really, I have no business meddling in the affairs of my clients, unless it involved interior design or architecture. Yet here I am opening my mouth and yapping. I do hate to see a good woman down.
That's not what I meant by it. I just mean that maybe you don't have to get the approval of your husband all the time. Or well, okay, fine. I know nothing about married life, Mrs. Wright. You're right about that. But I still think you're allowed your indulgences every now and then.
Of course, my form of indulgence meant buying old Slate's 78 RPM country records. Records which I don't even dare use with my gramophone. For her, it could very well be buying entire houses.
That's just my take on it. A perfect relationship is as rare as hen's teeth. You got what you got. I mean, you're doing well enough without my advice. Sure look it.
That looks to placate her somewhat. She looks away and starts to favor the view outside once more with a faraway look in her eyes.
Feel free to look around the rest of the house. Everything but the theater should be open. Just call if there's need of me.
Of course, Mrs. Wright.
I really shouldn't have opened my big mouth in the first place. This sort of thing only gets me in trouble. Keep it clean, keep it simple, and stick to business. That's it. Be professional. But I fail to do that just because of a pretty face. When she turns to leave, she glances back at me before disappearing into the foyer. I look out the window from where she was standing, and I move on. Alone with nothing but my thoughts and her.
Finally, some peace and quiet.
Thought the old biddy would never leave.
It's utter madness, this hearing things. I reckon it's the stress, though I don't know what exactly I'm stressed about. If meeting Mrs. Wright has really thrown me for a loop, I'd be worried. If I'm developing some sort of psychosis or disorder, well, I'd call a doctor. But hopefully it isn't that. Not right here and not right now. I mean, it could just be that personal talking cricket, the conscience, so to speak, and I'm only noticing now. Though if it is, it isn't very helpful. Pushing the dilemma of voices in my head aside, I go back to work. But I can barely make it a few steps before everything tilts and shifts. I don't really stumble, but it feels like I'm being thrown off my feet and the rest of the world just follows. Though my feet stay firmly on the ground, and even if I stay mostly upright, I feel like I've been heaved and put off balance. I have to close my eyes, in the hopes of willing the sudden sense of vertigo away, but when I open them... well, I don't feel any less sick because of the sight that greets me. Blood drip from the walls and the ceiling, pooling downwards and seeping into the curtains and the carpet. A wave of nausea, stronger than the last, hits me along with the overpowering stench of blood and gore. I want to bolt. The rational part of my head is telling me to flee. And I would have gladly done if it had asked, if only I didn't hear her.
In here, Marianne. Come on. I have something to show you.
I could have ignored it, would have ignored it, if only I heard it in my head. But I swear that this time it's coming from one of the rooms, much further into the study, and I feel compelled to pay attention. I can't just turn around and leave. Not when it's her. I don't even think as I follow the sound of her voice. Thick as Thieves unlocked. Lorraine. Lovely Amanda Lorraine. Wow. Fiona or something like that? She was my friend, the only one I had at St. Something's. I was a scholar at the charity case in a school for privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down at me, and if they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all except her.
Oh, stop your crying. You know better than to listen to Maeve. Why I gotta teach that butterface a lesson?
Wait, no, lass! I don't want you getting into trouble with the sisters again!
Relax. It's not like I'm going to stomp her and her lackey's arses flat like last time.
Come on, let's just go back to our dorm room. I don't want to be on my Tobler while you go get yourself punished.
You'll be fine. Gip's there with you.
Lorraine was there when I needed her, through my highs and lows. Having her as a friend made being in a strange school, away from my father, all the more tolerable. She saw this poor, helpless girl who was kept down and shunned by everyone else, and being the kind soul that she was, she rescued me. So brave, so beautiful. She was something else.
I'll eat all the chocolates stashed away in your closet if you go.
I can get more. Just don't go complaining to me if you get a tummy ache because of that.
Well, you don't want to get detention on a weekend, do you? It's a Friday. We can go to town and have some karaoke. And we can have a go at druids and demons again. You're not going to miss that just because of Maeve, are you?
Sometimes I question what I did to deserve a friend like her. In the darkest corners of my mind, where treacherous thoughts lurked, I thought that she only felt sorry for me. Maybe she was just being a good Samaritan, offering a helping hand. And perhaps I had been too selfish to return the favor.
You have a point. I'll just kick her arse on Monday then.
That's not what I mean!
I know what you mean, Em.
Wait, where are you going? You just told me you wouldn't cause trouble.
I still have something to do. Don't worry, it's not like I'm going to burn down her dorm room or something criminal like that. I'm just going to talk to her.
Fist to face.
Maybe it'll make it so that her room smells like a dog's air biscuit. That'll make it an excellent weekend. I'll see you in a bit, Marianne. Lots of tobblers.
Because when she told me that she loved me, I couldn't admit that I felt the same way. Not to her, not even to myself. It was wrong. I was taught that way, husband and wife, one man and woman. Unclean, impure. I prayed for her and I, for our sins and for our salvation. I wanted to apologize for disregarding her feelings so callously. It must have been like a slap to the face for her. But life had gotten in the way. Exams, which are trivial in hindsight now, took top priority. I had to keep my grades up to keep my scholarship for my father. I told myself I would apologize to her when those were over, that I needed to focus first and not let anything distract me. It had been easy when she avoided me like the plague. She was upset, I get that. I thought I had the time to make things right, but...
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead, assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
They told us that it was an accident. That was the official statement. But I knew better. She was dead because of me.
Maeve had a hoot and I kicked the bucket, didn't she? Ding dong, the witch is dead!
She had, though she didn't say which Lorraine.
But at least Maeve had the courage to admit how she felt about me.
I didn't even know how long I'd been stuck here in a trance. In the mirror, Lorraine smiles at me. She's as beautiful as I remember her. But then... I feel bile rise up in my throat as her clean image warps into how she looked when they had found her, dead, lying on the cold, hard ground. Good Saint Difna, great wonder worker in every affliction of mind and body, help me. I'm seeing things, hearing things, and Am I going completely insane? Looking everywhere but at her, I hope and pray that it's enough to will whatever this is to go away. It doesn't even immediately register in my head that I can just leave.
You, on the other hand, can't even look me in the eye.
This isn't real. You're not. You're dead!
I'm dead. Because of you. And you won't even look at me. Look at me.
My breathing quickens, and I can feel my heart being torn apart by her words.
I'm so sorry, Lorraine.
Look at me!
I can't take it because she's right. It was my fault. The least I can do is look at what I've done. Lorraine, broken and bleeding, looks at me with such hate-filled eyes. An unnatural smile stretches across her face, and I can only see malice in it. Then she lunges as the mirror ripples around her form, the glass parting like the water's surface for her. She grips my shoulders, and I can feel her nails dig deep, sharp, even through the fabric of my clothes.
There you are.
So, like usual, I'm just gonna keep this.
You're coming with me.
Aw man, no CG. Oh well.
Why won't you love me?
Daredevil unlocked. Apologies spill through my lips as tears cloud my vision. But I won't give in to this madness. With every bit of strength I have left, I struggle to get away from her. Fear grips and threatens to choke me. I endure. I escape. And without turning back, I stumble back out. In my panic, I don't even care to look where I'm going. With one hand on the wall to steady me, I just hobble as fast as I can away from the study. Away from that mirror. Freedom is bittersweet. I'm free from the madness, it seems, as running out into the hallway reveals it to be in pristine condition. But it means I turn my back on Lorraine again. I have no plans of stopping, not until I know I'm safe. And if that means walking back to Luxborn, as ridiculous as the idea is, then so be it. Someone suddenly grabs hold of me, however. Fingers digging deep into my shoulder, and my heart nearly stops. My body seizes and I nearly scream.
Marianne, you look awful. I mean, not awful, but did something happen? Are you all right?
Mrs. Wright,
Without thinking, I sought comfort seeing that it wasn't her. It's a sudden impulsive thing to do, and had I been in a better condition, I wouldn't have even dared doing such a thing. But I didn't know what else to do. Though I know I shouldn't, her warmth, her scent, they grounded me. She is intoxicating.
Marianne, what's going on? Oh, you're shaking like a leaf.
Tremors run through my body as soon as my mind realized I am no longer in danger. I wanted to cry, scream about what I've seen, but like a scared child, I couldn't control myself. My mind couldn't reconcile what I had seen. I should just write it off as a figment of my imagination, yet I can still feel her nails cutting into my skin.
Are you sick? Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then. Come on, don't worry, I have you.
A lie, but a whole lot less complicated than telling her I was attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of fear eases off, I feel nothing but shame for my actions. I quickly back away as I clear my throat and nod my thanks.
I think I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started. Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
It seems to placate her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden quickly under another smile. I won't begrudge her for it. That worry. The look on my face must have been a strange enough sight on its own. Even I am still reeling from whatever that was. Her voice still whispers in my ears. After all these years, she's still... No, Marianne. Shaking my head of the thoughts, I drag in a breath and follow shortly after Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past, it's long gone. Only memories now. And those are things I can no longer bring back. It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we are only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wright's car and the stars up above us. So now we're back on the common route, but I'll show you her tree in case you're wondering. So, I still have to do this one. So there's a lot of events up there, but we'll worry about that when we do the Everyone Lives playthrough as well, that one. So I'm not sure how I bypassed this one, but when I did this the first time, you check the ground floor, you spend a little time with Whiskey, and then you're back on the common route. For this one, there's more events. You have to choose between decide on your own, what you tell Hannah. You have your little game that doesn't give you any reward for losing, and then you're back on the route. So, skip button. Oh! Or rather, who I thought I saw there, because there's just no way. Not to mention how I acted towards Mrs. Wright, for goodness sake. I should feel the slightest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. Yeah, I remember that line. So, real quick, the whole Lucia thing, a little bit of trivia for you guys since I made an Alice comment on the previous video. Lucia, I believe, is... crap. As I was trying to say, it's going to be the persona for Fuka. I don't remember if it's her base one or her other one, but for the same reason as the myth, the whole eyes thing, and she's supposed to be your spotter for the Tartarus dungeon. But anyway, I look away, not wishing to risk anything. If I see Lorraine's image in the mirror now, I wouldn't know what to do. I don't have the luxury of privacy right now, and I'm not going to break down in front of all these people. And then we're back on the common route. So I know one of her personas is Hitomi and the other one's Lucia. I don't remember which is which, unfortunately. So right here we will try to lighten the mood.
You're not gonna go out there and join Mrs. Wright? You're starting to look strained. If you want your picture taken so badly, I'm sure the photographer would oblige.
What is it that you want to do then?
Film. Documentaries mostly. But cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on the thing, actually.
We need to get you away from the butler. You're starting to sound like him. No, I'm not joining Hana for an interior design magazine photo. What am I, a piece of furniture?
That can be arranged.
Look, did a lot of you have anything else crucial to do today? Marianne?
There are still some little things to do. It isn't the end of the day yet.
Yes, but you're paid hourly, aren't you? Per day? Really, I don't care. You and the others can just take off for the day.
Why is he dismissing us early all of a sudden? Is this about the possible security threat? Did my question get him all wary and paranoid that he would just send the workers and I away? I realize that threats are of actual concern to these rich and powerful people. I imagine whether anyone wants to or not, they get a few enemies here and there. But I'm sure the foreman and his works can be trusted and are of no threat. Well, at least I trust the people I'm working with. I understand if he doesn't. He doesn't know them from a can of paint. Still, wouldn't it be safer if there are people around who can watch their back?
You're the boss. My being paid by the day aside, I won't be held responsible for any significant delay caused by your decisions. I'll try to get around that, of course, but I'll just remind you of the fact.
Whatever, take forever with the house. I don't give a bloody damn. Don't you worry, you're still getting your money. Just sod off, go crawl around a pub and find yourself a good lay.
Paranoid or aggravated as he might be, this conversation certainly didn't have to warrant that sort of remark.
Maybe I will.
So here's our meeting with Ash. But yeah, you know, for an Irish woman, I'm really surprised she hasn't actually called out for St. Patrick yet, of all things. Him I could tell you a little bit about. Sadly, only a little, but it's more than Difna or whoever these other ones she calls out. Goretti.
Please. It's really important.
So here's our ending.
15 minutes. 9. 10.
The mirror that had been moved from the study is my goal. I did not return to it after my initial discovery, but the thought of Lorraine, how much I want to see her again, even if it's just for one more time, keeps coming back to mind. As I walk through the cellar, I have to stop when I feel something crunch beneath my feet. Whatever few bottles were left behind here are now nothing but glass under my heels. Perhaps dropped by one of the many chefs and bartenders the butler had escorted through here before. And it made a downright mess, with red slick pooling from the remnants of a good drink. With how dark this place is, a person with a dark enough imagination can easily mistake it for blood. I can help but think it is, despite the easy logical explanation that had come to my mind, only because of what I'm about to do. It's merely a momentary distraction as I continue to the end of the cellar where the mirror stands. Propped up on the far wall, it gleams innocently while pretending to be a simple and ordinary mirror. How morbid to think this thing can show a person their deepest, most desperate desires, and then twists it to an image so dark. That's what I had seen that day. Though I heard Lorraine many times, I had only seen her here within its frame. I wonder if people have discovered it before. How many were wasted away in front of it, enamored, and how many were frightened away by what they saw? Yet as I stand before it now, nothing. I can barely see my own reflection in the darkness.
How does this even work? Mirror, mirror on the wall? Something? Anything?
Nothing. Touching its surface doesn't make it magically activate or anything like that. There's no sudden surge of power, and I am not suddenly granted sight. It stays what it is, a mirror. Was Lorraine's appearance in the mirror all some sort of fever dream? Am I really that burdened with guilt and despair that my mind would eat itself in my stress and have me hallucinate such things? Either way, just going here on some crazed obsession for a girl long gone must warrant me a trip to the doctor. Already I feel ill. After a few more minutes, in the hopes that something would change, I turn around to leave. I can just go back upstairs like nothing ever happened, perhaps drop by the party for some hors d'oeuvres, then go home and collect myself. Besides, Mrs. Wright is expecting me and I'm...
Going to leave me again then, are you?
I stop in my tracks, but I don't turn back. As much as it pains me, I don't look back. If I'm just hearing her again, desperately delusional, and I look back to see nothing, I don't want to give myself false hope. But when I feel fingers around my wrist pull at me, I look back in shock. My first thought is, how in God's name is this possible? And the second is Lorraine. Her hands are cold.
Are you that mad at me that you're just going to ignore me, Marianne?
I don't know what to say. I can only stare at her and wonder. She stands there in the mirror with only her arm extended outward for my sake. I look at the hand still holding my wrist, and when she sees me looking at it, she moves it so that our hands are intertwined, fingers weave together. Seeing her there and feeling her touch meant I'm not crazy, though however impossible and unexplainable this all is to me right now. It just takes my breath away. Pulling her out from there is tempting. I can imagine doing so with ease. We can be together again, Lorraine and Marianne, like nothing had ever happened. But that would all be a great big lie, wouldn't it?
What? Tack out your tongue? Don't just look at me like that. Say something.
Even if this thing were some magic portal that could bring back the dead, that doesn't erase anything. Just looking at her, still a young teenager while I'm already a grown woman, it serves no other reason than to break the illusion that blinds me. I've seen her twice now, always behind that mirror. If this is real, if this isn't some delusion, then why can she only exist behind the glass?
Yeah. You have no idea how happy I am to see you. It's been so long.
You don't look happy.
I really am happy, but at the same time, I can't help but think about what happened to you.
And what does that mean? What are you saying?
She gives me this peculiar look, and before my eyes, she moves to step out of the mirror. In turn, I wrench my hand from her and take a step back, almost as if I'm afraid.
I don't know how this is possible, but whatever this is, it isn't real. You can't be real.
I'm right here, aren't I? What other proof do you need?
No, I see you. I hear you. I feel you. But even with all that, you can't be real. You just can't. I saw your body. I helped bury you. You're dead.
A deep hurt crosses her face, and it just breaks my heart in two, seeing her wear that expression.
Burying me wasn't the only thing you did. Don't you dare lie. But I'm going to be the bigger woman, aren't I? Let bygones be bygones. I'll forgive you, as long as you stay with me, Marianne. That's why you came down here, right? To find me?
That was the plan. I came down here looking for her, for closure. But this isn't just closure. This is something else entirely. I didn't think I would be forced to make such a choice. I want to stay. I really do want to stay. With her. I'm getting tired of pretending, of lying to myself. And the fact that I'm admitting this to myself now of all times only brings to light how Lorraine was right about me all along. I should have listened to her.
But, Lorraine, you're dead. How can we even stay together?
I know. And it's your fault, isn't it? You tore us apart. But now, you can put us back together again.
And now that I have the choice to fix what I had done to us, then who am I to do otherwise?
I'm so sorry. I must look like a right mess.
I'm here, Em. I'm here now, don't you worry. Come here.
It takes everything I have not to tear up at the sight of her. She reaches out and slips her fingers through mine before pulling me away from the tunnel and towards the mirror. Our reflection, a grown woman and a teenager barely past her prime, lends a bizarre light to this whole scene.
I can't imagine how you've been so alone all these years. I left you, Lorraine. I didn't mean to, but that's what I did. I don't even know if you can ever forgive me.
Don't cry. Doesn't suit your pretty face. Besides, I don't have to be alone anymore, do I? You're here for me, aren't you? You'll never leave me again, will you?
My mouth goes dry as she looks at me. That isn't the plan. This isn't closure. Yet her hand in mine makes me believe that this is real. She's real, and that's all that matters, nothing else.
Yes, of course. I wouldn't dare leave you.
You swear you won't leave me?
I swear to God, I won't, Lorraine.
Though her smile remains, I can only describe her expression as sad. She walks around until she stands just behind me and wraps her arms around my waist. I nearly crumble with how I am in her arms once more. And when she puts her chin in the crook of my neck, and I feel her hot breath on my neck, I'm filled with both joy and grief. The scent of chocolate, almonds, honey, and beer surround me. My first taste of love. The love that I denied. It'd been so bittersweet.
God's not the only one you're making promises to, Marianne. Swear it to me. Or, even better, prove it to me.
I'll stay forever with you, Lorraine. I swear it to you. How do I even prove it to you?
Simple.
She presses something in my hand. A large glass shard from a wine bottle, cold and sharp.
You join me.
Is she suggesting that I...
Die for me.
Lorraine! That's... How can I?
How can I even do such a thing?
There's no need to be scared. I'll be here for you until the end, Marianne. Even if you hadn't done the same for me. But that's the only way I can forgive you. The only way we can be together again.
She guides my hand, raising the glass shard. My own hands are weak, as is my will, and I can only bare my neck to do with as she wishes. There's no reason, no self-preservation, as I mindlessly welcome my own death, as if it will lead me to my salvation. I feel nothing at first other than the glass touching my skin like a caress, until a stinging sensation blooms from my neck. The pain sears and burns like nothing I felt before, and every breath intensifies the feeling. Even if I wanted to cry out and scream, I can only cough as a slick metallic taste coats my tongue. The most I can do beyond that is rasp out, calling her name.
Lorraine.
Cold and weak, I grow worse by the second. I cough with each ragged breath, expelling the blood that I'm inhaling through my slit throat.
Shush now. It'll be over soon. Really soon.
There's a moment of doubt as I remember that the devil was once the most beautiful angel in heaven, that I shouldn't be deceived by such beauty. But in my final moments, all of that is soon forgotten. My mouth twitches. I can't muster even the smallest of smiles anymore. But I'll be with Lorraine.